Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 4 is here. Is it as bad as Episode 3? No. Is it still bad? Yes. Hello everyone and welcome to the Wizard Ponders Entertainment. I am your host, the real-life fake wizard. For today's Pondering, we review Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 4. Before we get into it, if this content brings you any value at all, I'd invite you to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and, well, if you agreed with me, thank you. I do want to say I did not hate this episode. It was not great, but it was also not nearly as bad as The Acolyte Episode 3. The writing is still very clunky, and this show truly suffers from streaming syndrome, where something could be great if it was a 90-minute movie, but because they stretch it to fit 8 episodes, there's tremendous amount of filler that's unnecessary. Let's get into it now and start going through one scene at a time. Ah, Lucasfilm. Remember when that used to mean something? If Kelnaka has sworn himself to exile, similar to Master Torben taking that vow where he won't speak, they're clearly setting up for something where these characters have immense guilt. I have to imagine that it's something of guilt for them to have separated themselves like this from the Jedi Order. Or at least that's what this show is trying to make you believe. I do not recognize these. Are these supposed to be the thread from the witches?
I came to say goodbye.
This scene here is completely unnecessary and feels entirely padded. This is something that doesn't need to be here. For her to be saying goodbye, this episode and most Disney Plus shows suffer from what I call ma-feelings. Ma-feelings is scenes where characters confess some kind of insecurity about whatever it is they're experiencing at this point in the show. OSHA has many scenes of ma-feelings. If we were to have less of these scenes, there would be a dramatically reduced runtime, but the show would be much better for it. Most Disney Plus shows could have been much better and well received if they were just movies from the get-go. It's been discussed online that turning Star Wars into a feminine brand has been a costly decision. I would wager that turning Star Wars into a TV-only brand has also been a costly decision.
Don't tell me you'll miss me.
Again, I don't think this scene is really necessary to the overall plot. I
can't.
None of this feels believable. We found your long-lost sister. She's a killer. Oh, well, I don't want to be involved. I'm leaving. Really, you have no interest being here? I just don't buy it.
Kofar is massively uncharted. No, I risked my life to help you.
I don't remember this character's name, but aside from the set leaks of the Master without the helmet, and it's very clearly Manny Jacinto's character here, I really like this character. I do. I like the character. I like the feigning of, oh, I'm not really what I say what I am. This actually reminds me more of the Rings of Power and everything with Halbrand. We see it coming. We know. We know. But I do like that play on the, it's not really me, is it? I enjoy that. That's fun.
Okay. Follow me.
Like, we wouldn't believe that it was him because of how clumsy he looks and how scrawny he may look. No, it's definitely him. Oh boy. Oh boy. For them to bring Ki-Adi-Mundi into the show after being very public about how there's not going to be Easter eggs or cameos is dumb. Because there were plenty of other Jedi Masters that should have been alive at this time. This character should not be alive yet. This guy here with the big head has about the same lifespan as a human, give or take a couple years, which now puts his time of death, if he lived now, at about 152 years old. This was a mistake. And we are seeing in real time that they are trying to change the history. There's commotion about records being changed on things like Wikipedia. Why do that? You're under so much scrutiny already from the fans. Why make such a almost careless mistake? The context of the story alone is one thing, But then the inclusion of this character is another, because whether he's part of a Jedi cover-up or not doesn't matter as much yet. What matters is this guy should not be alive. So now you're going back and changing history, and now you're going to have to change this whole species' history too. To add this character goes one of two ways. Either it's intentional, and it's a giant middle finger to the fans, which means that it's malevolent, or it's just careless, which means that this franchise is in the hands of people who are just careless and stupid. I don't know which of those two is worse.
Yet there is skill there.
She doesn't know her master's identity.
An apprentice who doesn't know their master.
Could this be a splinter order?
How odd.
There's commentary online that people think that this is a cover-up. And I just said it a moment ago that there could be implications of the Jedi trying to cover something up. But they haven't explicitly said that they believe they're dealing with Sith. They specifically said a splinter order. Star Wars does not view Force users as a binary of Jedi and Sith anymore. There are Night Sisters, and last week we learned of the communist space witches. There's also been unaligned Force users in the canon for some time now. So it's not without saying that there could just be dark side users in this world. So this cover-up isn't necessarily covering up the Sith, because they don't see it as the Sith. It's all from that certain point of view Star Wars is always getting at. Now, it is still early out. The show is not over, but as of right now, canon is not broken for Sith activity not being recognized, because they don't recognize this as Sith activity. Again, early on, things could change in the next few episodes.
Trained by one of our own. You think a Jedi taught her?
They think that this is a rogue Jedi that's probably using the dark side. They're not necessarily making a Sith connection, and that is, of course, a mistake.
The High Council. A scandal like this would inspire fear. We should handle this.
The idea of making the Jedi a corrupt organization will do more damage to the brand of Star Wars than they had intended. We don't need a deconstruction of everything that we love. We didn't ask for that. We don't want that. And Disney loves to do deep dive deconstructions of everything we love. They do the deconstruction route when they have nothing else positive to write about.
Master Holden, extract Kalnaka from his post on Kofar and intercept May.
Vernestra's acting is really maybe the weakest in the entire show. I said in the last episode, I have really nothing bad against the acting, but gosh, for a Grand Master, she's just really unbelievable. And maybe that's just me, but that is just me and my opinion.
This meeting is adjourned.
But I saw her fall. No one could have survived that.
It's Star Wars. Everybody survives falling.
I fear May is only a small part of her master's larger plan. A plan that is difficult to see.
Yeah, in the slightest defense of the show, they're writing from a position of not viewing this as Sith activity, because the Sith haven't been around for such a long time. I'm not a High Republic reader or content consumer, so I don't know how they discuss the Sith in the High Republic, but I will gently defend that as of right now, it makes sense for them to not view this as Sith activity. There are other unaligned Force users that also use the dark side. And I need to break away and say, I don't like that. I don't like that they're separating the dark side from, oh, well, everybody could just use the Force and putting the Force on more of a spectrum. That's stupid, and they shouldn't be doing that, because the dark side is corruption. You are corrupted by the dark side. There are no good guys that use the dark side. That's what we learned in the original films and all throughout the prequels. It is corrupting. So while I can understand they viewed the dark side users as a threat, but in a lot of ways, that threat is something to probably be neutralized if necessary, and maybe that's a good thing that they were watching the witches in the previous episode, because they're dark side users. And it is important for them to find out who the master is here, because that's somebody who's clearly going around and instructing others to kill people. Simply put, I don't like it either, but it is explainable.
How do you kill a Jedi without a weapon? I'm just curious how you're gonna do it this time. You failed so much.
The way that this show treats murder and death is extremely alarming. May is a killer. She's killed 2 people that we know of. She stabbed Indara in the heart and manipulated another dude into Minecrafting himself. I don't care what you tell me, show. This is not a good person. This is a very bad person. In episode 3, she tortures a small animal with the dark side, looks her sister dead in the eye and says, "I'll kill you." And we'll see later on that they're going to pursue some kind of redemption arc. I don't buy it, and we shouldn't be endorsing this kind of thing.
But you killed them your way. You have to kill the Wookiee without a weapon.
I'm glad that this is addressed because until now, it was a bit of a stupid plot hole that they created themselves. The Master tells her, you must kill without using a weapon. But until now, she's killed Torben through Minecrafting and Indara with a blade. So she's not following the rules. And it seemed like they weren't going to address it until now. This is the problem with writing episodes like this. If this was a movie, it would have been fine because we would have gotten to that payoff relatively quickly. It would have been within the 90 minutes of watching this movie. But because it's a TV show, we think they're stupid because of how they wrote this. It took 2 weeks later for us to find out that, oh, that was a setup to a payoff that May actually hasn't been following the rules. And unfortunately, because the quality of the show in other places is lacking, we didn't have the trust in them that this would be something that they discuss later on. It's the kind of thing of, I want to defend you here, and I'm kind of defending you, but also you've put me in a position where you need to be defended. You couldn't just write something good in the first place. I said in the last video, and I'm going to say again, I want to like this. I want to say it's great Star Wars. I can't because I don't think it's very good because it suffers from too many things. But if you enjoy this and you like this show, I'm happy for you. Good, very good. Keep liking it. Don't let anybody online tell you otherwise.
What kind of deal did you make with him?
I didn't. We didn't exactly. I
just owe him. It's not me. I'm not the Master. I'm not wearing a bag on my back that looks exactly the size of the Kylo Ren helmet. Again, some people are hating on the idea of this being another Halbrand situation from Rings of Power. I enjoy it. It's definitely him, and I really like this guy's acting of playing this kind of clumsy Jar Jar-like character, and then we'll see in the end when he just force pushes everybody around. I like that. Not original, but it's fun.
Anyways, let's get going.
See this look here, how she looks at him? It makes you think like she's just figured this out, that he's the Master, but later on we're going to find out that's not true. It would have been better, actually, if this was her realizing, oh my gosh, I'm working with the Master the whole time. There's a few looks, actually, where she looks like that, where it looks like she's figured it out, but she's not, and she hasn't figured it out. I'm going to deviate for a second because I just realized we haven't actually gotten the confirmation that it is him. It could be a rug pull, and it could be Mother Coral underneath that helmet. So I do want to say, I will feel really stupid if we post this video and we find out in a couple weeks it's not him. But anyway, let's just continue.
We got you serviced. It's like
Cutting back to Osha here, I have to say, I'm not even remotely interested in the twins. I'm only interested in Master Soul and Manny Jacinto's character so far. Those are the only ones I actually care about in this show. Maybe Yord, but he's just too cliche of being the guy with the stick up his ass from any, and maybe even sitcom at this point. So cutting back to her now, I'm like, can we just skip ahead, please?
I need your help.
Oh boy, you said goodbye already, but I need your help. So we've pulled you back into the main plot. This wasn't necessary. You could have just been, no, I'm staying until we find my sister. And that would have been enough.
I need you to come with me on this mission.
you want me to rejoin the Jedi?
Well,
He didn't say that. He said he wanted you to come on this mission. Talk about somebody with main character syndrome.
I don't want May to get hurt. There is still good in her.
She murdered 2 people that we know of. A lot of people, including myself, have seen a concept art of what a redeemed Anakin Skywalker looked like. And we kind of fantasize about the idea, well, what if Anakin lived and started the next Jedi Order? Well, we have to remember the fact that even though we like Anakin and even though we like the character of Darth Vader, this guy is responsible for the deaths of countless people. You don't get to just come back from that. You may be able to say, I'm sorry, but you've still committed those atrocities. I love Anakin Skywalker and I love Darth Vader as the characters that they are. And something that's great about how they've handled Vader, I think, not Disney, but how Lucas has handled Vader over time, is you don't forgive him. He's still like we can love him as the character, but he still did all those terrible things. You don't just move past that. He may have returned to being a Jedi and become one with the Force, but deep inside, he's still that killer. He still is that monster. You're not just absolved of those sins.
The part of her that loves you.
So this idea of May, who has killed people, just can come back from that easy peasy, no problem, just say you're sorry, or at least that's how they're setting it up here, and it's not a good message.
That's Basil. Is he or they with us?
Modern day Californian Earth pronouns in Star Wars. Obama's America.
Thanks, Obama.
We're looking for a Wookiee. He's big and hairy.
People are complaining about that comment, that he's big and hairy, but it's innocent enough. It's not a big deal.
You're gonna need to hand that blaster over.
Why are you gonna be such a hard ass here?
Okay, well, if you're upset I'm on this mission, join the club.
This is another scene of my feelings, because OSHA has to keep telling us about my feelings. If this was a 90-minute feature, this wouldn't be here. We wouldn't need for her to keep dumping my feelings.
But if it comes to it, you need to stop her.
This guy may not know the Star Wars lore for his interviews, but I gotta say, I don't dislike him. I like him and his acting, and I like the character. It's kind of the, you know, the stick up your ass character, and it's, again, cliche, but I don't hate him.
I won't be able to do it.
OSHA.
Please.
Please, my feelings are, I'm insecure, I have my feelings.
We need to catch up.
Okay, finally, back to the characters that I want to hear from. And they're gone. So that was a few, what, 30 seconds of filler?
And we don't want to know what lives out here.
Everything we're about to see with the bugs here in this forest would not be there if it was a feature. And if it was, it would be even faster if it was a feature 90-minute film. Everything that I see in this show, and especially this episode, could have been reduced down to 5 minutes of time in a feature film, and it could have been really great. But there's so much padding here that I can't quite care to know what happens next. I don't give a crap about what is about to happen. So having them walk into a forest with what we're about to see as bug creatures, it's only there to pad the clock. This is millions of dollars in time that they're wasting. All of this time that we're wasting showing the forest and the shots and the soft motion on the characters, it's all time going away from actually getting into the plot or doing something else that could have been fun.
So!
The only defense that I will give to this whole scene with the bugs is that that thing is terrifying looking. That is some kaiju-looking giant bug creature, and I think it's really cool. That being said, its name is ridiculous. It flies into the lights. So I guess it's just like any other moth. You could just turn on a lightsaber, it's gonna fly right into it. Is that the whole thing? The moth's name is Umbra Moth. Umbra Moth is like the first name ChatGPT gives you when you say invent a D&D fantasy creature name. Oh look, a Jedi with no name that we know nothing about. I'm sure he'll make it to season 2. Actually, I don't think any of them are gonna make it to season 2. This really should not get picked up for a season 2.
I was able to sense that creature, but I disturbed it, and now it's dead.
My feelings. This is padding that would not be there if it was a feature film.
I want this more than anything, but it's impossible. And if I don't do it, they'll kill me.
See, the idea of her making all of these confessions, knowing that he's the master, would be pretty interesting. Because you're seeing it through her eyes where now she's manipulating the master back to see how he reacts here. That's an interesting concept. But we're going to see in a couple seconds she still has no idea. Now at this point, we know she's up to something. And again, it's the kind of thing of, well, I wonder if she's figured it out. Has she figured it out that she's traveling with her master?
Basil. Great. He's vanished again.
We saw Basil moving earlier in the episode. Dude's moving really slow.
After running through that forest for an extremely long time, I realized something.
You realize that he's your master.
I don't need to keep this deal. What?
Aw, man.
OSHA being alive changes everything. I surrender myself to Climactic.
You killed 2 people. You Minecrafted one of them and stabbed the other one in the heart. You're a bad guy.
We'll put you in prison.
Not after I tell them who I know.
Yes, they will. You killed 2 people. You're setting a 3rd person up to die here. So you just have no remorse for harming people. You threatened to kill your sister, and then allegedly you're responsible for killing your entire witch coven. Then you killed the Jedi Master, then you killed the Jedi Master, and you just strung this guy up to die, which makes me come to a obvious conclusion. They want May to be likable and like the hero of this show, but this isn't somebody you should be idolizing as a hero because they're a killer and they're a bad guy, and they don't seem to be remorseful for those things even at all. I talked earlier about Darth Vader, but when you look at Darth Vader, you know he's a killer and he's a bad guy. He's not the hero Luke Skywalker and Leia are. I don't want kids looking at this and saying May is the hero of this story. May is not the hero of this story at all. She's a bad guy who's murdered people.
You wouldn't let me confront my own Olega,
You weren't ready.
but I'm ready now.
If you were the other Jedi here, especially the ones that don't have names yet, we'll find out the names when they make the action figures. And I see Osha go and have another feelings heart-to-heart with another person, especially being Master Soul who needs to focus up. Like, this is a high-tension moment. This is an HTM. High tension moment. Everybody should be looking around and paying attention. Your guard should be up, and she's gonna talk my feelings again. We don't have time for my well, actually, Disney Star Wars has nothing but time for my feelings, and well, look at how it's working out for them.
I sense things again.
We're tracking a killer here. This is not the time for this.
Once we get May safely to the ship, I'll explain everything.
Yeah, so clearly there's something we don't know about the Witch Coven's death. Soul feels some sense of responsibility for their demise. They just have to paint the Jedi as the bad guys. But you know what? There's still 4 episodes to go. But as of now, Master Soul is remorseful, at least, for what's happened. I don't know. This whole thing is stupid. Let's just, at this point in time, this has been going on for a while, and I'm exhausted. Let's just get through this. Uh-oh, rug pull. The Wookiee's already dead. There's a few things to talk about here. Firstly, I don't have a problem with Kelnaka already being dead. The idea of her opening the door and, uh-oh, somebody not only beat me to it, but we're in danger is an okay surprise. The problems are the other things that have happened in this universe. Wookiees are very strong creatures. They should be able to handle a fight. The only thing we know about Kelnaka's death is that he was slashed across the chest with a lightsaber. We have seen characters in Disney Star Wars get impaled and survive. Get impaled multiple times and survive. Wookiees are stronger than those beings that were impaled. Well, what makes sense anymore? If you've told us that Wookiees are tough and Wookiees should be able to survive like that layer of slash to the chest with a lightsaber, but being impaled and cooked with one on your insides, like you can live through that, what's the truth? And so it brings up the point that I said earlier in this video. Is this changing of history with malevolence in mind of let's get the chuds, let's stick it to the chuds? Or is it just careless storytelling? This is your story. We're just pointing out the holes in the plot. I do believe having Sabine, Reva, the Grand Inquisitor, all be impaled and miraculously live has done irreparable damage to Star Wars moving forward.
He's here.
This moment of he's here, my master's here, she should instantly put 2 and 2 together. It's not like you haven't been traveling with him this whole time, huh?
Come out with your hands where we can see them.
I hope this guy got paid for these lines because he's gonna die at the top of the next episode, assuming it's not another flashback episode. I see some people online complaining about the dude floating in the background, like, oh, they fly now, the Sith fly now. That's a very short distance to descend. I actually think that's pretty cool. And we've seen Count Dooku do it in the Clone Wars original cartoon. And it was a little less believable then than this is now. This is a simple using the Force to just bring yourself down. It's not flying, it's falling with style. Oh, it's done. Oh, that's how you end it, huh? Oh man, what a cliffhanger. But unfortunately, cliffhangers like that don't work for shows like this because the content of the show itself is not enough for me to care to come back next week. Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 4 is better than Episode 3, but not by much. This show, like other Disney Plus shows, suffer from streaming syndrome, where you take a simple concept that would be a really good 90-minute film and stretch it into 8 episodes, pad it with filler content that nobody cares about, and then get mad at the audience when they say this isn't good. I hope you watched this and saw that I did defend a few things, and I also hated on a few things. I want this to be better. I want Star Wars to be better. But I can't say I'm surprised when the company itself refuses and will never acknowledge the mistakes that it has made. And they genuinely hired former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein to make this shit. All right, I want to thank you for watching The Wizard's Pondering. If I brought any value to you today, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more episodes and ponderings just like this one. If you didn't like what I said, I thank you for watching for this long. That is all for now, my friends. So until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and may the thread be with you. Take care, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus already.
So long, I'm so long.